Even soulmates are not always easy and breezy relationships. Sometimes soulmates are connections like mirrors. They bring out what needs healing, growth, and release. That brings me to something people don't usually talk enough about. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing great. I want to talk today about a topic that's near and dear to my heart because as a child I was fascinated with reincarnation and how everyone's lives seem to tie together. I remember sitting with questions like, why did I feel so drawn to some people, and why did other connections feel like I needed to run away? Why did I have such different relationships with my parents? And it wasn't because one was nicer or the other one was easier. It was a lot deeper than that. Like there was some history in the energy itself. I'm sure you can all relate to that. Something I can't identify, but I could feel. Science has come a long way in explaining the body's hormonal and chemical responses, how we react, how we attach, why we feel safe with some people and threatened by others. But even with all that, the body's chemistry is still a mystery in a lot of ways. There are chemical elements we can measure, but we don't fully understand how everything interacts the way it does, how love and anger can change our physiology, how attachment can feel physical, almost spiritual. What science can't fully explain is why those patterns repeat, why certain people feel fated to meet, why some connections feel like home and others feel like a life lesson that hurts us and hurts us big time sometimes. And that's where spirituality, faith, reincarnation, soul memories, and divine timing steps in. Now, I want to say something up front. We may never know the truth in a way that can be proven the way a science experiment is proven. We may not know, well, we won't know most of it till we get home. We're not supposed to know everything. But I do want to share the teachings I've absorbed through the years. These are my truths, part intuitive, part spiritualist, and part wisdom I've learned from sages and mediums I've encountered along the way. So let's talk about soulmates and karmic relationships. First, I have to say the term soulmate is a little overrated. It's used so often by people who don't actually understand what it means. It gets marketed as some perfect romance fairy tale. It's used by teenage girls in a way that can almost turn into a fantasy addiction. I remember those days. I was boy crazy by age 11, and every crush was my soulmate for a minute or two at least. Some people say soulmates are just an illusion our egos created so that we don't have to face the possibility of being alone. But I've always believed in soulmate connections. And I also believe that we can have them in more forms than people realize. We're drawn to connection for a reason, and that connection is real. But the type of connection matters. Infatuation can feel like destiny. It's usually fast and intense, and soulmate love, whether it's romantic or not, has a different flavor. It has recognition, growth, and somehow this special alignment. A soulmate is someone you may have lived with many times in many lives, and they are often recognizable by a certain underlying harmony, like a frequency, by feeling that you get each other, sometimes instantly, sometimes after years. And yes, this connection can defy logic. It can transcend the usual human explanations, but there is a part I want to emphasize. Even soulmates are not always easy and breezy relationships. Sometimes soulmates are connections like mirrors. They bring out what needs healing, growth, and release. That brings me to something people don't usually talk enough about. Yes, you can have more than one soulmate. A lot of people hear your soulmate and assume it's one person, one lifetime, one fairy tale. But I don't believe that. Soulmates can come in many forms: parent and child, siblings, best friends, community connections, romantic partners, of course, but also mentors and even people who appear for a brief cameo in your life, but still change your life significantly. Whether it's a brief encounter or a lifetime of relationship, it's important to ask yourself, what did I learn from that connection? What did it awaken in me? And did it heal? And what did it teach me to release? Now, for people who are mostly wondering about romantic soulmates, let's talk a little bit about single people and romantic anxiety. Many singles feel like the clock is always ticking, like love is something they're late for, and everyone else got picked first. Then people read surveys and headlines and relationship stats, and as a result, insecurity builds up. But everyone is in a different time zone, spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically. So if you're single, take this time and do what I call the me clock. Work on yourself, your goals, your dreams, self-empowerment. In metaphysical terms, when you change the energy, you change what you attract. And yes, it can be that simple. Not easy, not effortless, but simple. If you're not with your soulmate yet, live in the moment. Live in the here and now, not in the fear of the future or longing for a memory maybe from the past. Live like your life is already meaningful, because it is. And just a side note, an absent soulmate might feel like a part of you is missing, but you're already whole. And you are here on this earth to work on that individual wholeness. Now, a lot of people ask me about twin flames. In modern times, this buzzword means the soulmate of soulmates. I understand why people are drawn to the concept. The idea feels intense, like cosmic compatibility at a level beyond explanation. But there's also controversy. Some believe twin flames are your other half, your completion, like yin and yang, finally meeting. I personally feel that this can sometimes lead to codependence, and it's not a healthy one. Like, without them, I'm incomplete. That's a dangerous spiritual trap, because completion doesn't come from another person. Completion is what you build within yourself. There's another school of thought that resonates more with me: twin flames as a mirror image. So if a twin flame is a mirror of your soul, then you don't just see the love, you also see your imperfections. You see your shadow. You see what you often avoid. A twin flame is like standing in front of the mirror and not always liking what you see. The mirror doesn't always bring comfort, it brings truth. Does anyone know two people who just don't get along? like a parent and child who clash because they're just too much alike. There's love, but there's also pressure, like a lesson you just can't argue your way out of. That's the mirror energy. And twin flame connections aren't always meant to be harmonious. In fact, they're sometimes defined by conflict because the conflict forces growth. So, is a twin flame a soulmate or karma? This is another question people ask me. My perspective is that the twin flame energy might be both. It might be soulmate energy at a deeper level because it's a recognizable soul connection like no other. But it might also be karmic because karma isn't about punishment. Karma is about unfinished lessons. And those lessons are looking back at you in the mirror. So, if twin flame energy mirrors your shadow until you evolve, that's not just romance. That's a spiritual curriculum. And in that sense, twin flames could be the soulmate of soulmates. And also the karma of all relationships. Let's define karmic relationships clearly. A karmic relationship is a connection between two souls that involves unfinished business, lessons or patterns that need healing, either from the past experiences together or lessons that bring souls together even without a prior history. Sometimes two people meet and feel like soulmates instantly, but if their relationship is primarily for lessons, that relationship doesn't usually stick for very long. That initial attraction is often recognition of the connection, the soul contract, and your role in it. Unfortunately, our human selves wear the blinders, but on some level, we know what we're actually getting into, even when it's gonna be a bumpy road. And the lesson might be difficult, but remember to be sure and ask your higher self, what was the lesson that I needed to take away from this? And if you learn that lesson, you will advance to the next level of the game. And if you don't, that means the ego got in the way. If you don't learn the lesson, then you might have to repeat the class. In my work, people often seek guidance in love. And they'll tell me something like, I know this relationship needs to be done, but I just can't let go. Sometimes it's because they're afraid to be alone. Other times, the good part was just so intense, they want that high back. They want to plug back into the chapter of the relationship that felt perfect. But karma doesn't work like that. Karma asks for the closure. It asks for maturity, and it asks you to release it. So letting go becomes an act of spirituality, not just heartbreak. And the most powerful thing you can do is step outside the upset. Not to deny your feelings, but to observe them from a higher place. From that higher place, you can see the lesson more clearly. And when you understand the lesson, then you can release it. Let me recap this for simplicity. Soulmates are often about harmony, recognition, and growth. Twin flames can symbolize mirror energy. That energy is a truth that forces you to evolve. Karmic relationships are unfinished business and lessons. These relationships may not last very long if you've learned what you came to learn. When relationships end, it often means it served its purpose. And the most empowering thing you can do, especially if you've had your heart broken, is this. Don't just ask, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is God in the universe asking me to learn? Because that's where the lesson ends and the next love begins. Thank you all for being here. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my content, please hit the subscribe button and feel free to see me on my main channel, Francine's Cancer Journey. Until next time, feel blessed. Bye.